Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
In this Tractate Brachot, this morning we're not only going to study the beginning of the chapter 1, but also we include something more applicable, which is the few things in conjunction to Pesach. A few words of introduction. We have the obligation to say Shema twice a day. We said in Shema, Veshinantam levanecha, you should teach them. Tell the children that to do it all the time. Sit home, go on your way, lie down, arise. So this is an obligation, but the question is, there is a certain limitation. And we always hold that time is crucial. How to perform certain mitzvot. So the Mishnah starts with the question, for what time we should fulfill the obligation to recite the Shema in the evening? What's the problem? So later we will study in a Gemarah, in a Talmud, that sometimes a person come home and he is tired, his hand is full from work and other obligation and stress during the day. So he is eating his dinner and then doing other things, for sure not including watching TV, but a person is getting tired and all of a sudden says, let me take a short nap, and he wake up in the morning. So in order to avoid that, we want to have some restrictions, and the best way to do it is to follow the way that they did it originally in the temple. So the first point is, from the time that the Kohanim, the priests, they are impure, which is in a halachic category, it's called tameh. So that's the time that they may enter to eat the truma, which is the nightfall. So basically, in the temple it was different shift of priests. And the first shift was a time that is called Tzet HaKochavim, the time that you see the 3 stars. That's the time that a person have the obligation to say Shema. So the first opinion is, the first point is that the person needs to say Shema when the time that the ancient time, the priest, have the obligation to they were tameh, and they cannot eat, and then they enter the temple to eat the terumad, which is the nightfall. So again, that's the earliest time you say Shema by the Mishnah time, by the Mishnah definition. And who said that? This is the word of Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer, one of the sages, that's what he said. It's called one of the Tanaim. Just in a very general term, later you see the Rashi said it, that the night, in that definition, it's divided to 3 different categories, which is the 3 watches. The first watch is the first third of the night, which is, it was a different shifts, and it was a different, so the first watch of the night, that's called the time limitation. So again, what Rabbi Eliezer said is, from the time that the priest enter to do the service, which call in our language Tzet HaKochavim, from the time that you see the 3 stars, up to what? Up to the end of the first watch, the first shift. So
the nighttime hours are split into 3.
In that sense, yes,
yeah, okay.
Split into 3.
Okay.
And Rabbi Eliezer understand the word b'shochbecha, when you lie down, when the Torah said in Shema b'shochbecha, when you lie down, to refer the time that people go to sleep, which is that he rules that one may fulfill his obligation to recite Shema only during the first third of the night.
The first, okay.
Right?
So the first 4 hours of 4 halakhic hours of darkness.
Yes, Shaul's Maniot. For the end of that period, anyone who plans to go to sleep at night is already done so. So that's Rabbi Eliezer. Chachamim, yes, please.
So, even if you don't say your night prayer, then like the whole thing, as long as you say Shema Israel, that's okay. As long as you say the Shema.
It's a good point. later we talk about situations, like for example, if you are in Norway, or for example, if in our time soon the Shabbat starts so late, what do you do with Shema with the little children, and how you manage the saying Shema properly. But in a very general term, when the Mishnah referring Shema, it's basically referring to Mariv prayer. That you need to say the whole Mariv prayer. But for sure, strictly speaking, that's the Shema itself, the Mishnah speak about Shema. But for us, in our language, in our days, it speaks about davening Mariv, making the Mariv prayer. That's a good point. So Rabbi Eliezer said that until the first watch, והחכמים אומרים עד חצות, and the sages said it may be recited until the midnight. So again, what we said midnight is like you chatzot in that sense. You split the night from the sunset to the dawn. You split it to two, and then you see those different calendars that apply when it's exactly chatzot. Rabban Gamliel, which was the Nasi, the president at that time, Rabban Gamliel said, Ad she'aleh amud hashachar. It may be recited until the light of dawn raises. So it's very important to know that there is a dispute among the poskim, among the rabbis, whether this referred to the very first ray of dawn that appeared at the eastern horizon, which is this opinion of Magen Avraham, or to the spread of light across the entire eastern horizon. Okay, so that's the which is a little bit later. The Eliyahu Rabbah mentioned that. So in that sense, Rabban Gamliel defines the term b'shoch becha, when you lie down, to mean the entire time that people sleep, which is not necessarily when they go to sleep. So therefore, the time that Rashi explained here for reciting the evening Shema extends through the entire night. The sages also agree with this definition. Nevertheless, they limit the time to midnight. Why? To ensure that people will not fall asleep and forget to say Shema. That's what we said later in the Gemarah. Now, we're going to see an example to that, and then we're going to analyze what exactly the Mishnah said. So the Mishnah recount an incident, and they said, Maaseh ubau banav im bet hamishtet. This great rabbi, Rabban Gamliel, the Nasi, it happens once that he came, his sons, most probably they participate with a wedding or other important mitzvot, but anyway, the sons came home, and it was after midnight. They went to a banquet. Banquet can be something that involved with, a lot of activities, drinking. The Rambam, in his commentary on the Mishnah, he states that this phrase refers to any gathering that they involve with wine. But basically, the Tosefta Yom Tov, in the Tractate Eruvin, he said that the term here, Beit HaMishte, it's referred to wedding. That's, my heart tells you that that's most appropriate because they care for halacha, so it has to be that they involve with different mitzvah, which is the participating with wedding.
Right.
Amulo. So they said to the father, the Rabban Gamliel, Daddy, what happened? Lo karinu et Shema. We have not yet recited the Shema. They recited now. Can be, for example, they're helping to make the bride and the grooms happy, to set up all the wedding needs. It's a huge headache, right? Mm-hmm. And they may start in the afternoon, and now it's 2:30 in the morning, and they said, Daddy, we didn't say Shema. Amar lahem. So Rabban Gamliel said to them, Im lo ala amud hashachar chayavin atem likrot. He said to them, if the light of dawn is not yet risen, so you are obligated to recite Shema. Ooh. So now, what's the problem we have with this statement? The problem we have here is what exactly the Mishnah said. The Mishnah said that Rabbi Eliezer said one thing, the sages said another thing, and then Rabban Gamliel said another thing. Rabbi Eliezer said it's at the end of the first watch. Halacha usually follow the sages. The sages, which is more than one person, the rabbis, will rule at Chatzot. So, now, even Rabban Gamliel said until the dawn, but he's now ruled for his children something that looks like, appear, like his own personal opinion and not what the rabbis ruled. So, we need to explain a very important concept in Halacha here. We interpreted disputation usually as a strong opinion over one way or the other. Here is an example of not a real disputation. What's involved here? The rabbi calls in a definition lechatchila, and that's a very important definition. You're going to see it throughout studying the Talmud all the times. And bediavad. What's the difference between lechatchila? Lechatchila is the proper way how a person should conduct himself. For example, in this case, the proper way, you come home, it's dark, you should say Shema. The first watch. Bediavad meaning by force of circumstance, if there's no other way around and it's already 11:30 or whatever it is, so you go by the sages. And if sometimes bediavad, even the circumstance that now it's 2:30 in the morning, so you even can go by Rabban Gamliel, as long as it's not the dawn, it's okay. Which means, we don't follow halacha b'diavad, which means, let's say if you wake up 10 in the morning and it's past the proper time to say Shema, you still have the obligation to put the tefillin and to say Shema, but it's not the way it should be.
Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, you're saying Shema like you're reading the Torah. Soon you read it. But it's not the same category of fulfilling mitzvah in a proper time, because in Jewish faith, the time is crucial. The time restraint and the time border, it's very important all the time. We are framing things with time. Time is very important for us. Okay? So that's the reason why you see the zmanim in the luchot, in the different calendars, that they're so specific with the minutes, how important it is to follow the time properly. But it's in many, many cases, there is a room for bediavad. There is a room that by force of circumstance, if you cannot make it in the proper time, you can go ahead and do something if it's still not exceeded. For example, if you miss yesterday mincha, or you miss yesterday shachrit, it's too late. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But if you miss, let's say mincha, and now it's a time for mariv, you can repeat the Amidah twice. It's not the way it should be, but it's bediavad. So that's important category, lechatchila and bediavad, that you hear me saying a lot of time. Remember that category. Here is lechatchila and bediavad. All the rabbis agree, Rabban Gamliel and the sages, and everyone agree with Rabbi Eliezer. In that sense. It's the time of you see the 3 stars, it's a tet. The time of the first shit, you should say Shema.
It's acceptance that we're human and we do make mistakes sometimes.
Correct.
And we have to.
Correct.
We
the sages said,
but
if it happened, it happens.
You should always try to do it.
Right.
Lechatchila.
The sages said, if you can't.
So under force by circumstances, then you might do.
Bediavad.
But only then.
Only then.
Yeah.
Excellent. So the sages said,
don't use it as an excuse. In other words.
Correct. Correct. Yeah. So the sages said, if you have no choice, you go chatzot. Go in that sense, middle of the night.
Up until that point.
Up until that point. Rabban Gamliel added to that and he said, I agree with you guys that it's advisable and preferable to go by time restrictions. The only thing I add to that is, if a situation like my children, my sons, that it doesn't happen every day, but it happens that they couldn't make it in the time restrictions, still it's dark outside, it's not dawn time. For example, it's 2:30 in the morning, I still said, okay, say Shema. That's Rabban Gamliel's point of view. So it's not a real controversy in that sense. Okay? If we get a chance to read a little bit the Tosefta, you see how he elaborates on that. That the main key is there is a certain time restrictions, but we basically go by the lechatchila, and b'diavad is only if we have no other choice. Now let's finish the Mishnah and then we'll go a little bit with that to a Pesachim. So the Mishnah continued and said, "Velo zo bilvad," and this is not only in this case that the sages said until the midnight, right? Which is according to the Torah law, it's actually extend until dawn. Ela kol ma she'amru chachamim ad chatzot. Rather, whatever the mitzvah the sages said that may be performed only until midnight, mitzvatan ad she'aleh amud hashachar. The time of the mitzvah actually extends until the light of dawn rises. So, example, they give you an example. In the ancient temple, Beit HaMikdash, hekter chalavim ve'evarim, the case of burning of the sacrificial fat and limbs, the Torah said, we mentioned many times that there is a notar, and it's whatever left over we should burn. So it is a obligation not to have a leftover. For example, if someone contributed something, so it's belong in that sense to Hashem. So you have to burn whatever left, the fats and leaves. So when? So it's a mitzvah. The time of this mitzvah extends until the light of dawn rises. So what do we learn from that? What do we learn from that? Since we said that every part of animal must burn on the altar, and it's kol chelev, the hard fats. So if you have, for example, olah, a burn offering, so it's an obligation to burn the entire part of the body, the animals on the altar. So sacrificial offering basically can make only by the day. The fat, as well as the limb of the olah offering, so it burn the altar during the night, follow the offering up until the dawn of the next day, when they become disqualified if they're not been yet placed on the altar. So again, you see an example of extension of time. V'chol ha'nechalim liyom echad, and all those sacrifices that may be eaten for only one day, there's certain restriction of time. Mitzvah time, the time of the mitzvah, ad she'aleh amud hashachar, actually extend until the light of dawn rises. The meat of most sacrifice is eaten either by Kohanim or one who brought the sacrifice, depending of the korbanot. So there's a time limit how long the meat may be eaten. So then the Mishnah said, "Im ken lama amru chachamim ad chatzot." Why the sages say regarding to this mitzvah that may be performed until the midnight? And the answer, כדי להרחיק את האדם מן העבירה, כדי להרחיק אדם, in order to distance a person from a sin. So that's a very important concept in Halacha. That the rabbi is concerned, Rashi here explained, that the rabbi is concerned that if people were allowed to eat the meat of sacrifice until the dawn, some might forget to eat it after the dawn, and they commit a sin, punishment by karet. So therefore, they prohibited eating the meat after midnight. So in that sense, it's very similar that they require a person to recite the Shema by midnight, even though the biblical level may be that you recite until dawn. So one should be think that he has plenty of time until dawn, and then thereby possibly allow the time to pass without reciting the Shema. So that's the reason why we're restricted with time. With that in mind, I would like to share with you a Mishnah that David and I studied yesterday at Ner Israel, and it's very connected with the time restrictions, and it's also have halachic applications. The Mishnah said, Arvei Psachim Samuch LaMincha. This is the first Mishnah we study in Perek Asir and 10 Perek in Psachim. The Mishnah said that since we have a time restrictions, so a person should not eat at the eve of Passover from the time of the Mincha until it's dark. Erev Psachim Samuch LaMincha, the time of the Erev Pesach, we want the person to eat the matzah while he's have a great appetite, because it's called hidu mitzvah, that it's make the mitzvah a great pleasure. So therefore, a person should not eat until it's dark. Okay? So here we again have a time restrictions. We have, as you know, mincha gedola and mincha ketana. So here they're speaking about a certain time of mincha. Later the Talmud discuss, it's a 9 hours, 9.5 hours, etc. the time for mincha. But basically in our language, in a simple way, is when you come to Erev Pesach, which is next Friday, so we do a siyum here. So those firstborn can exempt and participate with the mitzvah, being part of the siyum. And then we have a time for breakfast, or whatever you eat in the morning, and you burn the chametz. So you burn the chametz. Now the time of the Seder, it's late. The time you eat in the Seder can be 9 o'clock or whatever. It's late. You know, between Mariv and doing all the Seder until you reach the Shulchan Aruch is very late. So the point is, the rabbis want a person to eat the matzah while he has a great enthusiasm. Like you really can't wait to eat the matzah. How you do that? Only if he's hungry. So the Gemarah later on said, the Rif and the Ran brought it beautifully. They said that it is a machloket between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi, if you remember. And it's basically the whole idea, was one opinion that hold that we should not eat anything from the minchas time. Let's say 1:45 until whatever 8 o'clock, you should not eat. That's one opinion. Others hold, Rabbi Yehuda hold, that you can start earlier as long as you continue and have the completion of the meal and the full meal when it's fully dark.
You don't finish it until after it's dark.
After it's dark. Mm-hmm. But to be correct by halacha, the basic way is if you need to have some little nash in the afternoon or whatever it is, you can have a very small nash, not matzah. Even Sephardim allow matzah shira, but it's preferable. Most of the Sephardim, even today, hold that it should be, people should be more enthusiastic over matzah, and therefore you should, the most, if you're really hungry, you can eat a fruit or something in the afternoon.
You should look forward to it at the meal.
Yes. But that's part of the idea of restriction of time until it's dark. And how do you know that? Because the time of the mincha, is the time of korban tamid shel ben arba'in, the time that you bring the offering. Mm-hmm. And as we said earlier, there is a time of the shchita, the time of slaughtering, time of all the involvement with that, and this is also a time of mincha. And now, yes.
Should we be careful what we drink to, because
not wine.
Yeah, but there's any type of drink that might have something that is leaven.
You're not allowed to do any leaven on air.
I know, but what I say, drinks. Do you have any drinks that they make with leaven, like juice or anything? I don't know.
Leaven in that sense, you remember we said a definition of chametz is anything that involved with the 5 species of grain.
Oh, okay.
So if you have anything involved with grain, directly or indirectly, we have to get rid of that. Yeah. So because you have nothing there. You don't have beer, you don't have whiskey, you don't have...
Beer would be an example of whiskey, and you don't drink that. So you get rid of that the night before.
Beer too.
Yeah, you sell it. Yeah, just like you do the rest of your
sell it, it's only in a certain circumstance,
right.
if you have no other choice. But basically,
best
you
is to get rid of it.
If you have a small amount, whatever, a bottle of beer, whatever it is, the basic is that you get rid of that, you give it to your neighbor before Passover. Not after, because that's prohibited, but before, you can give it away. So they said here, it's a very important concept, that's the time restriction. And let's just finish this Mishnah. They said, Afilu ani shebiYisrael lo yochal ad sheyasev. Even the most poorest person in Israel, he should not eat at the eve of Passover until he recline. Which is a very important concept. What they're speaking here is about everyone should feel the freedom, that like the kings, like the important people. And therefore, even a person that usually is very poor and is no way that he recline, in Passover he has to do it the same way as a freedom. And then the Mishnah concluded and said, "V'lo yifchatilu the gabayet tzedakah," that those people who are in charge for the community charity fund, even for the poorest person, they should not give less than 4 cups of wine. Va'afilu min hatamchui, even that he's getting from those people who have no minimum. The tamchui is people who have 2 meals a day, or later the rabbi said 14 meals a week. So if a person is so poor, they say that the Gabaim has to make sure that he has enough wine for Passover. It's a very famous story about the Beit HaLevi, that they go and they say that someone came to him at the eve of Passover, and he said to him, I have a question. I want to drink 4 cups of milk. Can I do that instead of wine? And the story goes that the rabbi went to his room and he brought a couple of 100 rubal, or in our language dollars, and he gave it to him. And then the Rebbetzin, the rabbi's wife, came and she said to her husband, "Why, if a person asks you about milk, why you about halachic question, why you give him money?" And the rabbi said, "Think about it. He's observant Jew, and he have the mitzvah of 4 cups, and he knows that part of the meal is meat, and 2 of the cups come after the meat. And if he asks a question, can I drink milk? What does that mean? That he's so poor that he doesn't have money for meat, he doesn't have money for wine. So I gave him cash." But the point is, there is an obligation, very serious obligation. The Rashbam said here something fascinating, that he said that if the community charity fund have nothing or very little, he has the obligation in kovet malbusho, he needs to even sell his garment, or yalveh, or borrow money, or yaskir et atzmo, bishvil yain l'arba kasot. He needs even to take a small jobs, or whatever, cleaning, whatever it is, just to pay for the 4 cups of wine, because that's obligation even upon the poorest of the poorest.